Today, it's day 2 of the Individual Apparatus World Cup from Baku, Azerbaijan. All the action taking place inside the National Gymnastics Arena alongside Olympic gold medalist Tim Daggett. I'm Tana White, and this is the third stop of 8 individual apparatus World Cup events, which will count towards Olympic qualification. So everyone has their sights set on 2020 and the Tokyo Olympic Games, and that race begins here with those qualification points on the line. But Tim, this is a new route for a specialist in particular to take. So give us an idea of who can take advantage of this new path to Tokyo.
Well, the really deep teams, you have to remember that the Olympic team is going to be 4 competitors in the team competition. So if you want to make it as a specialist, this is the route that you take. Someone like Igor Radovilov, who we see right here, he is doing that. Ukraine feels that they can be competitive. On the team level, they have not yet qualified for the Olympics. They hope to do that in October in Stuttgart at the 2019 World Championships. To do that, they need to place in the top 12. 3 teams have already qualified: China, Russia, and Japan.
So leading things off on vault, you said it, Igor Radovilov from Ukraine, 2012 Olympic vault bronze medalist.
Big vaults right here. Very nicely done. Yes, you saw the hop on the landing, but he is capable of putting that to his feet and not moving at all. Actually, at the 2016 Olympic Games, he attempted, I don't know exactly how to call it, a handspring triple front. So 4 times around. He qualified into the finals. Everybody was talking about this. It's like most people couldn't even watch because it was absolutely frightening. But he has the power, as you can see here. Look, he just jams his arms into that table and explodes. He's able to kick out and do an extra half turn. They actually banned that vault, Tanith, because it was considered too risky and too dangerous. And believe me, I was glad they did it, as was just about every other person in the world.
I was going to say, it looks dangerous enough just what he's doing here today. 14.733 for that first vault, but I remember watching that from Rio, and it's just heart-stopping. In fact, if you're curious, just go ahead and take a look back because it is something to see. But nonetheless, Igor Radovilov still incredibly impressive with what he's now still legally allowed to do according to the FIG. 2 gold so far in this series.
And I'll tell you what, he is really chasing something. In 2017, he was second to Kenzo Shirai, and many people, Igor included, thought that he was robbed. And after looking at it a bunch of times, I agree with him. He should already be a world champion. Double pike. Wow. Really, I mean, see, the unfortunate thing about this, once again, that's 3 times around in the air. Someone like Igor makes this vault look so easy, and it is so far from easy. I have seen gymnasts that were capable of doing this vault, and they're just a little bit off, and boy, the landing that they can have is almost catastrophic.
He has been purposeful and determined throughout the World Cup series. Now we take a look over at the women's competition. Leading things off on beam from China, this is Li Qi, qualified 3rd to this final, and this is her senior international debut.
Well, China on balance beam can be absolutely gorgeous. They tend to look like they're not on a beam. They are just tumbling on the floor as she does her layout. Oh. Hangs on. But that is the thing about the Chinese gymnast. So beautiful, so elegant toe point, great extension. Wow, what a series right there. Connecting all of those things together. "20 years ago, all of the Eastern Bloc coaches were leaving the Soviet Union, all the different republics traveling all over the world, and they dispersed. Now what we're seeing is a lot of those coaches are going back. Liang Chao, who was both Shawn Johnson and Gabby Douglas's personal coach for Olympic fame. He is now the head team coach in China and doing a great job. A very clean routine overall. Nice dismount, but a little bit easy.
In the meantime, Igor Radovilov from Ukraine scoring a 14.833 to lead things off on vault. We'll be back with the score for Li Qi from China in just a moment. But first, the United States represented in this men's final by Colin Van Wicklen, the 23-year-old from Magnolia, Texas, the reigning U.S. vault bronze medalist and 2018 world team member who qualified fourth to this final.
Big vault, same as we saw from Radovilov on the first one. It was good, but Colin can land a little bit better. Maybe gets into his tuck a little bit early, wants to get his, no, actually he's pretty good. He's looking at the ground right there. He's got bad ankles, so I'll tell you what, just to put that to his feet, that hurts a lot. Was a member of the powerhouse Oklahoma Sooners. He has 3 NCAA championships and 3 rings for the team.
And obviously Colin's great on vault, also on floor, but he says he doesn't want to be pigeonholed as a specialist, that he wants people to recognize his strength as an all-around contender. 14.566 for that first vault. In fact, last season he was even sporting a bracelet that read "Prove Them Wrong," which he said he could look down at in key moments as a reminder of what he hopes to accomplish.
Like I said, he could have done that a little bit better, could have been a little cleaner, but he has said, ever since I was 8 years old, I have dreamt of being an Olympian. On the biggest stage, very nice, clean 2.5. The problem that Colin is going to have here is that that isn't a difficult enough vault.
Well, we will have the judges' scores for Colin Van Wicklen when we come back. Welcome back to the Baku Apparatus World Cup. China's Li Qi now awaiting her score for her efforts on beam. 12.666 is the score in her senior international debut. So Li Qi got things rolling. Now another young gymnast making her senior international debut as well. Here is Anastasia Bachinska from Ukraine, just 15 years of age. We saw her on the uneven bars in the finals as well, where she finished 7th. 2018 Youth Olympic bronze medalist.
This is a highly rated mount. American Grace McCollum also does that. We saw her recently at the American Cup. And you know, we were talking about Olympic selection and how it factors in. So, beautiful handspring front somersault right there. That was gorgeous. So 3 teams, as I've said, have already qualified on both the men's and women's side. For the women, it is the United States, Russia, and then China. An additional 9 teams will qualify for the Olympic Games at the 2019 World Championships. Now, Ukraine at the last World Championships was 20th in the team competition. And at this point, it's very doubtful that they could mount a challenge to be in the top 12 or the top 9 outside of the 3 that have already made it at the World Championships. So this is a potential route. There are additional routes, and as I have said over and over when trying to explain this, it is uber complicated. Many countries don't even really know, even at this point, all the different scenarios that could come out. But a very nice routine right here, double back, small little step on the landing, but very, very nice job.
When you touched on it, just understanding this new process for the qualification on paper is one thing, but then to strategize as well for these gymnasts is a whole nother ball game. 14.599 for the American Colin Van Wicklen on vault, but we will do our best to keep you educated on this process as best we understand it throughout this World Cup series. Igor Radovilov with the lead on vault. Now Yahor Sharamko from Belarus.
And a nice vault. He also does not have the highest level of difficulty. We saw Radovilov, he had a 15.6 maximum score for both of his vaults. This vault right here, out of a 15.2, it's pretty good, pretty clean. Small little adjustment on the landing. It's key to know, though, on both men's and women's vault, like if you're watching the Olympics or World Championships and you're watching an all-around competition, they perform only one vault. If you want to qualify into a major event final, you have to do 2 vaults, and they have to be different. They can't even be related. So, for example, he entered the horse. How you go onto the vaulting table is the critical part. He needs to do that differently here to not incur a very serious deduction.
The score, a 14.5 for Sharamko for that first vault. The 20-year-old qualified in 6th place to this final with a 14.383 as his average score.
A little bit of a bizarre run. Handspring double front, and that right there will take him completely out of contention. A 15.2 maximum score for that vault. That's a full point off, and he'll lose a lot of different tenths. Has a lot of motion when he's running down the runway. His arms are going side to side, and his torso is twisting side to side, which, you know, if you're trying to gain speed down the runway, which is the goal, that is a detriment.
So we will see how the numbers pan out for Sharamko in just a moment. In the meantime, Anastasia Bichinska from Ukraine moves into the lead with a 13.533 on beam. So she will hold the top score as we get set to welcome Lara Mori now from Italy. 20 years old. She missed the beam final at the Cottbus World Cup, but floor is her stronger event.
Oh, boy, does she hang on. Very popular now. For a long time, the gymnasts weren't doing any type of acrobatic elements to get on the beam, but now we're seeing a resurgence in that. Her series, 2 layout step outs in a row from a back handspring. Good, but obviously an adjustment, and then another very big adjustment at the end of that side flip. Oh boy. And this is just really wobbly. She's a beautiful gymnast. Really has a tremendous amount of ability. But it is beam. Nice turn. And see, you know, you only have to do a full turn. She does it with her leg all the way up, which makes it much more difficult. She gets a little bit more difficulty for that. She takes the risk, but in the end, it was a debit in the account because she incurred a bigger deduction. Triple twist at the end, really challenging. Legs a little crossed in the air, and I didn't think she was going to get that around, but she does.
Yahor Sharamko from Belarus, a 13.866, puts him currently into 3rd place on vault. We'll be back with the score for Lara Mori a little bit later on, but we're going to keep things on vault now for the men. Time for the 3-time Australian vault champion to see where he can factor in this final. 22-year-old Chris Remkes.
And he is dynamic here as he is on floor. Double front half turn. Wow. Potentially, that is a vault that can get a gigantic number. Same vault we saw both Colin and Igor perform. The handspring double front 3 times around, and then the half turn out. Look at the body position. Look how much time he has to prepare for that. It just was a little bit jumpy once he hit the floor, but I'll tell you what, he has a lot of ability right here as he does on floor. One of the most difficult routines being done, just super difficult elements there. Yesterday, he was just kind of jumping all over the place on the landings.
Yeah, disappointing first day of these finals for Chris Remkes. 14.9 for that first vault. He actually led the pack in qualifying to this final, so bringing in some good momentum.
Yeah, that's a big number, 14.9. Igor Radovilov got a 14.733 on that exact vault. Colin was lower. Another 15.6 vault, attempting very difficult double pike. Oh, and that'll cost him big time.
A very difficult landing, a little bit of limping there. We'll have to see how the judges pan out that score in a moment. The world's best women's amateur golfers will come together at Augusta National Golf Club for a historic championship in April. Don't miss the inaugural Augusta National Women's Amateur Saturday, April 6th on NBC. Back inside the National Gymnastics Arena in Baku, Lara Mori from Italy now awaiting her score on beam. And it is a 12.2, slotting her into the third position currently. Anastasia Bachinska, by the way, from Ukraine, dropping about half a point there due to a penalty. But Yang Hakseon now from South Korea.
Oh, baby, so difficult. Handspring, triple twist forward. That's his own vault, and he kind of jarred his internal organs on landing. Landed on his heels. I'm so glad to see him back. He such a champion. 2012 Olympic champion, also 2 times world champion.
Chris Remkes from Australia, 14.216 there, putting him currently into third position. But so much of the anticipation, as you touched on, Tim, has been centered around Yang Hakseon from South Korea. Unfortunately, in recent years, he's been dealing with injury, tearing his Achilles just months before Rio, which kept him out of the 2016 games. And it was a 15.1 for that first vault.
And the big reason for that is, you know, those crazy vaults we saw earlier, the triple flipping vaults actually started only a 15.6. That started at a 16.0. Another big one right here. Nicely done, and tell you what, really nice to see this young man appearing to look healthy. He's had, as you mentioned, Achilles issues, also a lot of hamstring problems, but 3 times around, and as you see, he lands on his heels, as I said. Surprising he's able to keep it to his feet, but when you do that, everything in your body, both external and internal, it goes straight down, and that can be painful.
He was scheduled to compete at both the first 2 stops of this World Cup Series, but withdrew from both. So this is the first we've seen of him in 2019. And as you said, so good to see him back in action. Up next on beam, representing Australia, this is 22-year-old Emma Nidov, 2-time world competitor in 2014, then again just last year.
First big test right here, her series. That was gorgeous. Somewhat unusual combination. Really good connection right here. Very popular to do these leaps that start facing sideways now. It upgrades the difficulty level. I talked about Liang Chao, the great American coach of Gabby Douglas, Shawn Johnson, who is now the head coach of China. Well, in Australia, it's a guy named Mihai Brescian, who, of course, Alicia Sacramone, double pike, and Ali Raceman. He is now travels to Australia for training camps.
Yang Hakseon from South Korea, the Olympic gold medalist. Waiting for the numbers for his effort on vault. And it should be no problem indeed. 14.970 puts him into first place with just a handful of gymnasts left to go, including his South Korean teammate, Shin Jae-hwan. Qualified 7th to this final. We saw him at the Melbourne Cup just a few weeks ago where he was 5th on vault. He was actually there as a replacement for his teammate, Yang Hak-seon, whom we just saw. So nice to see them both here in action.
This vault right here, 15.6. Oh, and that was actually gorgeous. In the air, really nice power, but nowhere near showing control on the landing. I don't even know. It was at least 2, I think maybe 3 steps. And a step is either a 1/10 of a point if it's less than shoulder width apart. Good height. So let's see here. That's 1. That's a 3/10 step for sure. That's another 1. But, you know, talking about Yang Hak-seon, the reigning Olympic champion, is a North Korean gymnast, Ri Se-gwang, and I've been waiting for both of them to be ready at the same time. Obviously, with how the world is today, it would be a really great sporting moment, and I'm hopeful that in 2020 that can occur. Second vault's planning a 15.2. Oh my goodness. And he does not do a 15.2. His hands slide on the table and he has to bail out of it.
Final gymnast on vault and beam when we return. And we are back inside the National Gymnastics Arena in Baku with Emma Nidov from Australia. She was the top qualifier to this beam final, now awaiting her scores. And 14.1 puts a smile on her face, and for good reason. She moves into first place with just a handful of gymnasts left to go.
By far the cleanest routine we've seen executed today.
So just 3 gymnasts left. Mana Uguchi from Japan is up next. This is only her second major international event as a senior competitor. Her first was a few weeks ago at the Melbourne Cup, where she took the bronze on beam.
Japan has long had the tradition in men's gymnastics. They have been dominant in so many different time frames. The Japanese women are really coming on strong, though. Mai Murakami, world champion on floor exercise in 2017, and then a silver to Simone Biles at the most recent World Championships. Japan was 6th place as a team, so they'll also want to go to Stuttgart for the Worlds and punch their ticket, which I am quite confident they'll be able to do that. And that was kind of a neat shot, because what you're looking for is to do beam like it's on floor. And for a little while there, that's the shot we had. Just the dismount, front layout with a full. A very clean exercise, and you know, I think she's going to do well, but I have to tell you, I am just not a fan of some of the beam dismounts being done. They're just, she's capable of doing much more. She doesn't need to, but she is.
Well, she's going to have to do a lot more if she wants to rival the score of Emma Nidov. We'll have the numbers from Mana Uguchi in a moment as we head back over to the men's competition. Denis Ablyazin from Russia, 5-time Olympic medalist.
Wow, and he gets that around. Handspring, laid out somersault with 2.5 twists. Now watch his hands on the table, though. They slide a little bit. No, maybe not. Just right as he was putting them down, I thought they were going to slide, but it's a very difficult vault. It's not as much flipping, but there's a heck of a lot of twisting going on. 15.6 is the maximum score for that vault.
Abyazin representing Russia, one of those athletes who intentionally sat out the 2018 World Championships in order to be eligible to pursue individual Olympic qualification through this World Cup series. But so far, early injury has kept him out of the mix. And it was a 14.6 for that first vault.
Good, but not great. Remember, it is the top spot from the 8 World Cups that earns that ticket. Double pike, really nicely done. Oh, boy. Oh, and yeah, that's smarts. I'll tell you, even when you are capable and you put it to your feet, this sends shock waves through your lower body and your ankles. They just crunch so badly, but he's able to keep it to his feet. He does take 2 small steps afterwards, though.
So it's a 13.2 for Mana Iguchi on beam from Japan. She moves into second position. We'll have the score for Abyazin from Russia in a moment. Shin Jae-won, the 20-year-old from South Korea, who was last up on vault, scored a 13.1. And now Marina Nekrasova from Azerbaijan. The audience getting very excited for this next gymnast competing at home. Great atmosphere.
Oh, boy. And that will do it right there, unfortunately, for her in this home crowd. Nothing like competing at home, but sometimes it brings with it a little extra pressure. Some people rise to the occasion, and some people sometimes stumble a bit.
Do you think it's harder to manage the adrenaline from a revved up crowd on an apparatus like beam as opposed to maybe vault or floor?
Oh, well, I think it's easier to harness it on vaulting or floor exercise. Certainly, it gives you so much more power. But the best ones are able to do it on every event. It's just if you have a super competitor that is just really confident, where it makes others crumble, they soar. She lists Oksana Chusevitna as one of her heroes. She had the opportunity to not only hang out with her, but compete with her the other day in the vault finals. A nice job, but that fall near the top of the routine, that'll take her out.
Denis Abyazin from Russia moving into third place on vault, 14.766. Won't approach the standard set by Yang Hakseon from South Korea, still holding the current lead.
But, you know, he shocked his ankles at the end there, and he had basically done the vault with 1 step, and then he took 2 small little steps after because it was hurting so much.
Final gymnast set to go now for the men. Here is Dominic Cunningham representing Great Britain, and this is his strongest event where he is the reigning British champion.
Has 2 very nice vaults planned. A round off half on, double front layout off with 2 twists, or the same vault that Simone Biles premiered at the Doha World Championships that now bears her name in the women's code of points. So watch, half turn onto the board, then half turn, and then laid out somersault with a double twist. Really good, but a little sloppy in the air. And, you know, at the most recent World Championships, 2018, he was 4th on vaulting, and he said it was a great accomplishment. But on social media, ever since then, he said, never want to be 4th again. He's trying to upgrade that vault, add another half turn to it.
14.6 is the score for that first vault, but at those World Championships, just to throw salt in the wound, he was 4th by 0.009 points. So he knows he's capable of getting onto a world podium at least.
And if he adds that extra half turn, that's 0.4 of a point. Big vault right here, triple twist. Very nice. Does that excellent. really gets a great rebound from the table. Exactly what you're looking for. You want to be lightning fast with your arms back to the table, and then you just want to explode. No bending of the arms, no pushing, just rebound.
Dominic was the bronze medalist at the Melbourne Cup just a few weeks ago. Another podium finish here would be great for building that reputation. And Marina Nekrasova from Azerbaijan, after a disappointment on beam, moves into 6th place. And final gymnast now on beam. She is the reigning European bronze medalist on this event, Marine Boyer from France.
But in the sport of gymnastics, beautiful front aerial right here. The ultimate disappointment, in my opinion, is going to an Olympic Games and getting 4th. Just finishing off the podium and not getting that medal. She did that in 2016 on the balance beam, and I can sympathize. I was 4th on high bar in the Olympics, and it's really hard to take. And I'm not quite sure
Tim,
I'm over it, Tanith.
I was 4th at my second Olympics as well, so let's form a club. We'll have some ice cream. We'll work it through it.
We'll commiserate together. Yes. So far, beautiful work here. And France, like Japan, has just been on rocket fuel as of late. They were 5th at the World Championships in the team. Round off double pike. Beautiful routine from Marine. Absolutely gorgeous.
Remember, Nidov in the lead. How would you put those two together? What do you think?
They were both really well executed routines. Very, very nice.
It's going to be close. Dominic Cunningham, 14.750. He said he never wanted to be 4th again, but he's going to have to accept this result this time around. And Yang Hakseong, the Olympic gold medalist from 2012, tops the leaderboard once again. Igor Radivila from Ukraine with the silver, and Denis Abliazin, the 5-time Olympic medalist, rounding out the top 3. And now we see just how close Marine Boyer can keep it to Emma Nidov from Australia, the current leader on beam. Oh, and it's a tied final score, but you see there Marine Boyer moving into 2nd with that execution score being the deciding factor when there is an overall score tie. And boy, was that close. So Nidov and Boyer go 1-2 on beam. Mana Oguchi from Japan will take the bronze. When we come back, the women will be on the floor, the men on pommel horse. More from the Baku World Cup after the break. And we welcome you back to the Baku Apparatus World Cup. There's been a change to the Olympic qualification process. Now both nations and individual athletes can qualify a spot for the Olympic Games in Tokyo 2020. We've been talking about it throughout this broadcast because the results of this World Cup collectively, with the 5 remaining events through March 2020, will add up to an opportunity for some of these gymnasts to qualify to Tokyo individually. And let's talk about Filip Ude from Croatia as an example of that, Tim.
A perfect example. You know, he's tremendous on this. He's medaled internationally, even at the Olympic Games on pommel horse. But Croatia was 45th at the last World Championships. The top 12 will go. The next 9 will be chosen from the 2019 World Championship. So Croatia has no chance of qualifying. The only way he gets there is through an event like this.
You touched on it, a very experienced competitor, Olympic silver medalist on pommel horse from 2008, which was Croatia's first and to this day its only Olympic gymnastics medal.
He can be really great. Very nice body line, really extended circle. But sometimes he runs into trouble and gets a little bit sloppy with his form. Very difficult to do those turns in between the pommels. Oh my goodness. And you know, as of late, I have seen him really struggle. He did not do well in 2018 at the World Championships. He has been a staple in pommel horse finals, but really has underperformed. He was way off on that. There was no way that he could even fight to stay on. It's all about balance on pommel horse. A lot of people would disagree with me, but I think he's trying to do a circle that's so big and so open that it opens himself up to having problems a lot. His chest is way open, which is very technical, and certainly that's what he's trying to do. I think sometimes it makes it a bit freewheeling, and the result is a fall and no way a medal because the field is too good.
We'll be back with the score for Filip Ude from Croatia in a moment as we get things kicked off on floor with 17-year-old Diana Varinska.
One foot on the line and then the step with the other foot out of bounds. We'll get deductions for the steps and 1/10 for out of bounds. Well, you know, some very interesting choreography, a lot of really cool elements there. That double turn into illusion, I loved that after her first pass. But the difficulty score is very low. She needed to really execute, and she really didn't.
Filip Ude from Croatia with a 13.433. But for Varinska, she says Nasty Lukin is her idol for combining that difficulty and the elegance. Clearly a very graceful gymnast. As we take a look now at Kohei Kamayama from Japan, world champion on pommel horse, 30 years old, won that world title back in 2013, then followed it with a world pommel horse silver medal the following year.
Really beautiful. He's not a specialist, but this is where he shines, certainly. Almost retired, or actually did retire. Beautiful, up to a handstand, back down to flares after 2016 because he wasn't making any major teams. He said his coach convinced him to come back to the sport, and we all benefit from that because he's fabulous. When he's on, he's beautiful, does a lot of different type elements. And with it being a 4-person team at the Tokyo Olympic Games, he would not have a shot of being on that. His only way of getting there is through these event World Cup championships.
Well, if there's a chance to compete at a home Olympic Games, you've got to try, right?
Yeah, absolutely, but the problem is on all of these events, so you have these 8 World Cup events, and at the conclusion, they will take the top 3 placements of each gymnast, and that decides only one on each event.
Very narrow path to the Olympic Games through this World Cup series. Emma Nidov now, quick turnaround from a gold medal on beam moments ago.
Well, a very nice routine, well executed, but doesn't really have the highest maximum score.
Kameyama from Japan moves into the lead on pommel horse. The competition heating up in Baku. The finals continue when we return. Welcome back inside the National Gymnastics Arena in Baku. A look at Diana Varinska from Ukraine. Her score, a 12.6, moves her currently into the lead in this floor final. The men are on pommel horse. We've seen one highly credentialed gymnast here after another, and we keep that trend going with Cyril Tomazon from France. Two-time world medalist on pommel horse, a silver in 2011, bronze in 2014.
Yeah, he has been around a long time and has anchored Team France's pommel horse forever. Has a very quick circle. And I like his body position a little bit better. Maybe he could be slightly more open, but you see his chest is closed. He's kind of concaved on it, whereas Uday, he is so open, I think it causes him to really be inconsistent. Gorgeous routine, one of the best ones I've seen Cyril do.
You mentioned he's been around a long time, 31 years old, a father of two. He'll be 33 in Tokyo. And Menidov, 12.9, takes over the lead on floor. But lots of experience for Tomazon to compete with these younger men, but obviously physical challenges becoming greater and greater as well. And on the other side of that now, Varvara Zubova from Russia, 16 years old.
Well, a very nice job, a playful choreography, I would say, kind of fun, kind of cute, and executed well.
Cyril Tomazon from France moves into second place, 14.833 on pommel horse. And I agree, a very charming routine from the young Russian. Only her second career World Cup event. Competed in Croatia last year where she made the final on bars and beam. Now Oliver Heggie from Switzerland, a busy man in Baku this week, qualified to the finals on parallel bars, and today we'll see him on this event in high bar as well.
Really nice scissor work. A lot of athletes do those to a handstand position, but they show strength, which is not allowed. Oh boy, clipped the pommel horse, the pommel with his legs. He had to bend his knees. He stopped his rhythm a bit. And he's a little bit off right here too. Oh boy. And yeah, you could see that coming. You know, early on I said he clipped his legs. He actually hit the pommel and the horse, I believe. And what that does is it just changes your entire rhythm, slows the circle down. And so to get it back going again, the energy that he expends to do that is tremendous, and he just ran out of gas, I would say. He's got his best event coming up, though, on high bar where he's fabulous.
I imagine those few seconds after a mistake like that. So frustrating. Varvara Zubova from Russia moving into first place there on floor.
And of course, Russia has already qualified to the Olympics, placing second in 2018.
Vanessa Ferrari now from Italy.
Coming back from an injury, you see that foot tape, torn Achilles tendon.
We saw Vanessa at the Melbourne Cup. So much of that event's preview was dedicated to the return of this gymnast to competition. Three-time Olympian.
Such an amazing career Vanessa has had. World all-around champion in 2006.
You mentioned Vanessa rupturing her Achilles tendon. That was back in 2017. Now on the comeback trail, she won gold in Melbourne, looking for her fourth trip to the Games. 28 years old.
Well, a nice job, I'll tell you. So impressed to see her back tumbling, but also a very mature and a very nice choreographed routine.
So we will have the scores for Italy's Vanessa Ferrari in just a moment, but still more to come from Baku. On day one of the finals, the United States' Jade Carey took gold on vault. Is another gold in her future from Baku? We'll find out on the other side of the break.
How do these other OTC medicines compare to Zysol? Well, looky here. Zysol works faster than Claritin and lasts up to 6 times longer than Benadryl. So for the latest and powerful relief that's just as effective at hour 24 as at hour 1, be wise all. Take Zysol.
Nathan Chen and the world's best figure skaters take to the ice in Japan at the 2019 World Figure Skating Championships, Saturday at 8 Eastern on NBC. Halfway through this pommel horse final now. This is 20-year-old Wang Hao from China, and he is in his element on pommel horse.
Yeah, this is a pommel horse build type of guy. Long, extremely lean, very extended circle. He has been a fan favorite, super challenging pommel skill right there. It's nice flare work. Wants to remain completely square. A lot of people had been thinking he would be the #1 guy in the world for many years. Has not lived up to that and won't again today.
Wang Hao, a silver medalist twice over now in this World Cup Series, both times beaten by world medalist Li Qike from Chinese Taipei. But shockingly, Qike was 30th in qualification in Baku, and Wang Hao actually just making the cut to this final in 8th. So it was an off day for both of them in qualifications, and again today for Wang Hao.
Yeah, he's tremendous when he's on, but we haven't seen that a lot from him. Very disappointing. He's capable, certainly, in a lot of ways. I think he's potentially the best guy in the final, but you got to deliver.
Oliver Heggie from Switzerland with a 13.066. He was last up on pommel horse. Vanessa Ferrari moving into the top spot on floor. But for that men's competition, the door has been opened by a number of these routines. So we will wait to see where Wang Hao factors in. But the American, Jade Carey, getting set to go now and fresh off the feeling of having a Baku World Cup medal hanging around her neck. Won vault yesterday.
capable of doing what I believe is the second most difficult tumbling routine in the world to Simone Biles. Wow, really great. Double-double laid out. Wow, really, really good and really hard. She had a struggle at her first World Cup event on floor, did not perform well, but that routine will be very hard to beat.
14.033 for Wang Hao. Jade Carey scores in just a moment as we continue on pommel horse with the men. Top qualifier to this final up next, and he is from Japan. Here is Kaito Imbayashi. And coming into an event with as many Olympic and world medalists as there have been, I don't know how many people predicted that Kaito would take the top spot to this final, but he led the way with a 14.866, and as we mentioned, the door is open now.
Up to a handstand, back down to flare. Really risky way of doing it on that skill. He led the way in qualifying, as you said. One of the main reasons was he did the most difficult routine, had the highest potential score. Good work so far. Can't believe he stayed on when he went up to that handstand and came back down into flare. Technically, I wouldn't say it was the right way to do it, but what a fight. And, oh, he is going to get clobbered for that dismount.
The door was open. We'll see where their scores factor in, but Jade Carey from the United States factors in right at the top once again. We'll be back with more from Baku.
How do these other OTC medicines compare to Zysol? Well, looky here. Zysol works faster than Claritin and lasts up to 6 times longer than Benadryl. So for the latest and powerful relief that's just as effective at hour 24 as at hour 1, be wise all. Take Zysol.
Jade Carey from the United States leading the way now in this floor final from the Apparatus World Cup in Baku. This is Marine Boyer from France, now with the unenviable task of following Jade Carey on floor.
Well, a beautiful routine right there. Absolutely gorgeous. Great landings, but really should not challenge Jade Carey. Absolutely.
Imubayashi from Japan moving into the 5th spot with a 13.225. We'll have marine scores in a moment. I said it was unenviable to follow Jade Carey. That may not necessarily be the case. It's definitely possible to harness the energy from one great performance into another, but Jade Carey setting a really tough standard to beat.
Well, she's just at a different level in the tumbling. There's no question. There's Simone Biles and Jade Carey, just massive difficulty.
Nariman Kurbanov now from Kazakhstan, nearing the end of this pommel horse final now.
Once again, you see that long and lean body in the event finals on pommel horse, and a little squirrely on that. Oh, and he had to tap the horse, which will be a deduction, and he'll lose the value of that skill. This is a jam-packed routine. Very difficult, and the dismount, another deduction. He was supposed to do a pirouette. He'll incur more penalties for that. Not really what he's capable of doing.
Just a few gymnasts left to go on floor for the women. Lara Mori from Italy getting set to go. And Marine Boyer from France, the last up on floor. She will move into 4th place with a 13.3. Jade Carey still with the lead. Back with more in a moment. The women's floor final rolls on in Baku. We just saw France's Marine Boyer. Now Lara Mori from Italy steps up. Top qualifier on this event in Baku. Jade Carey with the lead.
Her teammate, Vanessa Ferrari, in the silver medal territory right now. Great exercise, beautiful, executed. Some hard tumbling in there, a whip to a full twisting double. Really don't think it can challenge Jade Carey though, but excellent job.
Kurbanov with disappointment on pommel horse, shaking his head. He moves into 4th place. Lara Mori putting the pressure on her teammate Vanessa Ferrari. Won't come close to Jade Carey, but we'll see where she factors in a moment. Now, Saidreza Chea from Iran, final gymnast. You want to talk about making your mark. He has 4 elements named after himself on pommel horse. The last 2 he performed for the first time at this event last year in 2018.
And they are all these type elements that are in flair, where he's, oh boy, clipped the pommel horse as we've seen earlier. Slowed his circle down, and I mean, this is really hard stuff. Very challenging. It's a little repetitive, in my opinion. Oh, he goes up, comes back down, and goes back up again. That will knock him off the podium. Very unique stuff. It's all a little bit from the same category, but that dismount is a big deduction for him.
He has one medal already on this World Cup series, a bronze from Cottbus. Lara Mori anxiously awaiting these numbers. She will undoubtedly factor into the medals after that performance on floor.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it, every single bit of it.
13.633 in qualifications. Big smile, big hug from her coach. And Lara Mori very happy with her effort on floor today. You see Jade Carey there, the leader, and 13.866 will put Mori into second place with one left to go now on floor. Cedreza Chea, 13.7 into fifth place. And it's been a tough day on pommel horse, Tim.
It has, absolutely.
Here are the overall standings now for the men. Kohei Kamayama from Japan will take the gold. Cyril Tomazon from France with silver. And Wang Hao, the talented young man from China, rounding out the top three. But still one gymnast left to go on floor from Croatia. Here is Ana Derek. Qualified in a tie for 8th to this final. We saw her at the Cottbus Apparatus World Cup, where she missed the final on this event. 2016 Olympian. She competed on beam and floor. Didn't make either final there.
That's something I've never seen in my life before.
That's incredible.
The first run was a leap series.
What did you think? Did you like that?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It's very surprising because of the way the code of points is written. She gets, a fair amount of bonus for the leaps, but you just, at the elite level, you never see that, ever.
Well, in keeping with that trend of the slightly unusual, Anna's dad was a national champion in kickboxing and then became a gymnastics coach. Her older brother also in gymnastics. So a few unique details on her journey in this sport.
Well, nicely executed. Like I said, very unconventional way to start the routine. Doesn't have a very high, maximum score that she can get from it. Somewhere, I don't even think 15-0, whereas Jade Carey, for example, 16-2 was what her difficulty rating was. But this was nice, required to do this front flip and then double back somersault. Little bit of a slide, stays in bounds though. I liked it because she appeared to me to enjoy it and feel the music.
When we saw the men on floor, Tim, you were talking about ensuring that what you're putting out there is something that's in your wheelhouse, what you're capable of performing well. I'd say this was a case of that today.
Absolutely, and making a World Cup final for this young woman is extreme. That's a huge, huge deal for her and Croatia.
She was 12th on floor in Cottbus, and those scores added up to an overall Apparatus World Cup standing. So she's currently 22nd, but this result will certainly help her rise in those standings. And I think, as you said, just qualifying to this final, already a big accomplishment. That's a nice feeling to take into any aspect of competition. Those incremental accomplishments giving you so much confidence. 12.933 puts Anna Derek in 6th place. So a big day for her, but no one had a better day than Jade Carey from the United States. Another gold medal from Baku. She was golden on vault as well. Lara Mori from Italy and her teammate Vanessa Ferrari rounding out the top 3. Up next, the men will take to high bar, and the headliner, Epke Zonderland from the Netherlands, the Flying Dutchman himself. 2012 Olympic high bar champion will have that competition when we return to Baku in a moment. And we welcome you back inside the National Gymnastics Arena. The women have wrapped things up in Baku. One men's event left to go, and it's on high bar. Here is the order. We will see these gymnasts. Epke Zonderland, the 2012 Olympic champion, coming up in just a moment. But leading things off will be Oliver Hegge from Switzerland, the Olympian from Rio, who also qualified to the parallel bars and pommel horse finals here in Baku, and a chance to shine here on high bar, where he is the reigning European champion.
And he is beautiful on this event. Really shows nice flight. These skills have to go right to a handstand. That one was fabulous. Done in connection. Love, love, love that combo. It was popular a long time ago. People stopped doing it because it's too hard. Another big release right here. Right to the handstand again. Nice flight. Little bit of a hesitation there. These are called Russian giants. Gets an extra 10th for doing them that way. My only criticism, he hops around the bar a little bit, which are deductions. Full twisting double layout. Oh, small step on the landing, but he is breathtaking on this event. Just beautiful. Beautiful work, start to finish.
And nice to be able to turn things around after disappointment on pommel horse.
That skill is called a def. It's a 1.5 twisting flyway, named after the great French gymnast Jacques Def. Does a lot of things that you don't see on the international stage, which I love. I love the variety. The code of points, the rules for gymnastics, they really need to do, I believe, a better job at encouraging, a routine that shows, areas from all of the code.
We mentioned earlier that this Apparatus World Cup Series, an opportunity to qualify individually to the Olympic Games. Here's an example of a specialist who could very well take the top spot on high bar at the end of it all. 2012 Olympic high bar champion, Epke Zonderland, representing the Netherlands, 3-time Olympian, 3-time world champion on this event.
And he popularized doing these major double flipping skills over the bar and then connecting them together. We've seen people try that stuff for many years in training. He's really been the most successful to put them together consistently. But you never know exactly what he's going to do. He has a plan, certainly, but he needs to catch the first release of the sequence far enough away from the bar so that he has a good swing. But when you're far enough away from the bar, you can be a little too far and then not get your hands around the bar.
Well, his dominance staying mostly intact since winning in London. His most recent world title came just a few months ago at the 2018 World Championships.
And I'm sorry, I just, 8.1 something execution score. He had almost 2 points off in that routine for Oliver, and it's too critical. I mean, that was gorgeous gymnastics. High bar is one of the events where they are merciless. Just too many deductions. I don't see it.
So 14.366 is the standard set by Hegge. Now Epke Zonderland.
Well, if you got him, buckle up, because this is a wild ride, and it all starts right here. Gets a lot of speed. Huge release, and he does connect the first two. Little bit bent elbows. He'll try to do two more together. Oh, jeez. It is so crazy hard to do what he has done. Just a little bit sloppy here and there, but he is hard to beat when he does that.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Unbelievable.
Remember, he couldn't defend his title in Rio. It was a 7th place finish there, but he's currently leading the overall standings on this event in this World Cup series. So no question, and there wouldn't be any way, that we will see Epka at a 4th Olympic Games if all stays on this course.
So when you connect 2 in a row like this, this is called a casino. Super challenging. He has just a split second to react and then do that double flip over the bar. He does another 2 of them in a row. Early on in his career, I saw him doing these exact same releases in training, connected, and I thought it was a pipe dream. I didn't think he'd be able to get consistent enough at them, but he proved me wrong, and boy, am I glad that he did. He is spectacular.
You know, and I just have to get in here, because along with everything else that is so impressive about what Zunderland does on high bar, he also earned his medical degree last spring, then welcomed his first son in the fall, just a few weeks before winning gold at Worlds. Now moving into first place with a 14.633. Exceptional athlete, so impressive. And that will be tough to beat, as Andrei Likovitsky from Belarus steps up, competed in Rio in 2016, qualified to the all-around finals where he was 18th.
And he does nice gymnastics as well. Not really the same level, though, of the super high-flying releases. It's really hard to follow, you know, a Simone Biles, a Jade Carey on floor, or an Epka Zunderland on high bar. But by the rules, this is an excellent routine. These German giants, and very nicely done, goes right to a handstand out of it, which is very hard to do. Hop on the landing, very good, but going to be hard to challenge a podium spot. There are just too many great guys here.
So Zunderland holding on to the top spot. We'll have the scores for Likovitsky on the other side of the break. Back with a look at Andrei Likovitsky from Belarus. His score after his effort on high bar in this final, 13.933, moves him into 3rd place, with Zunderland from the Netherlands still having the current lead, and it's going to be a tough number to beat. And finals roll on now as the crowd in Baku welcomes the first ever Croatian gymnast to be crowned world champion. Here is Tin Srbic, 2017 world high bar champion, and he's seen his share of showdowns with Olympic champion Epka Zunderland. Tin defeated him at Worlds in 2017, but Zunderland came roaring back for another title in 2018, with Tin falling off the podium to 4th. He did qualify first to this final, however, in a tie with Miyachi from Japan, so still keeping the pressure on.
Didn't really fall off the podium. I would say Sam Mikulak finally knocked him off the podium, winning his first major international medal, getting a bronze. But he is so clean, and he connects all of these releases. One more, off the charts difficult. Maybe not as enthralling as those double flips over the bar, but really, really hard to put 4 releases together like that. This has been a fabulous routine. Oh, he so often takes that hop on the landing. You know, it's not that difficult of a dismount. And as has been the case with him, I believe in the World Finals on high bar in 2018, I believe he took a hop as well there, and that was a contributing factor to no medals. And whereas Epka is so dynamic and high flying, he is so precise and has less difficulty deductions, actually. Look at this, it's 4 skills in a row. Makes it look way too easy. Doesn't do this dismount great though. Lacks a little rotation often. Has to take that hop forward. That's only a 1/10 of a point hop though, not 3/10 because it was less than shoulder width apart.
Well, Team talked about feeling the pressure at those 2018 World Championships, trying to defend his title. It's a very different experience from being the one chasing the top spot, and 14.6 moves him into second place, and he is going to be thinking back on what that cost him.
Yeah, that hop, okay? Epka 14.633. A stick would have given him the lead.
A tough lesson to learn there for Teen Srbic. Once again, handful of gymnasts left to go. Now Mitchell Morgans from Australia, currently ranked 6th in the World Cup high bar standings.
Do another major release right here. Really cool, but you see the legs? Let's watch the form as he's in the air and grabbing for the bar. That one was a little bit cleaner. This is an exhausting routine. That one, not so clean. And the giant afterwards, your arms must remain straight. If you bend them, it's just like bending your knees when you're trying to keep them straight, and you incur the same deduction, up to 5/10. He's very good on high bar, but he really needs to clean up his look. Does a lot of tough stuff, but he just opens the door for judges to scribble away on their papers, and scribble they will, I guarantee you.
Well, and you can see that comparison after the precision of Teen Srbic in particular. Morgans qualified 3rd to this final. He was the Australian high bar champion in 2014 and has since picked up a number of national silver medals on this event as well, but trying to get into that top mix internationally. Competed the last 2 World Championships, his best result in 2017 on high bar, where he finished 33rd.
And one of the problems I have with international judging is they don't differentiate well enough. You know, he does hard stuff, but there's an execution score that's taken out of a 10.0. And remember, Oliver Heggie from Switzerland, I love his high bar. So elegant, beautiful looking. He had, let's see, an 8.166 execution score, which I thought was way too low. Let's see what we end up here, because it should be way lower than that. And it is not. That, I'm not criticizing him. I would say that was right for him, but for the other guys that are clean, that's not right.
14.133 moves Mitchell Morgans behind Oliver Heggie, but as you touched on, these athletes will go back, look at these execution scores, and sometimes just tough to make sense of. Zhang Chenglong now from China. World high bar champion in 2010, silver the year after that, now 29 years old, looking ahead to a possible 3rd Olympic Games.
Yeah, he won a gold with his team in 2012. I was shocked to see him earlier this year in a World Cup. I thought he had kind of hung up his high bar grips, but he is back and doing extremely well. Oh, wow, that was a really, really rough element. Gonna take a deduction for that. He ends up getting his hand on the bar way too late. But he's an example of a guy that will not, I believe, make a 4-person team in Tokyo, and he will not medal here either. That's a full point off on the landing.
Well, he will be 31 in Tokyo if he makes it, so it will undoubtedly be a very different experience if he does than it was 8 years ago. The scores for Jang Chung-long in a moment. Just a handful of gymnasts left to go now in Baku at this Apparatus World Cup. Jang Chung-long from China scoring a 13.2 after a flawed performance on high bar. 2 gymnasts left to go now, including Australia's Tyson Bull. We saw Mitchell Morgans just a little while ago, his teammate. Now the 25-year-old and 2-time world competitor who has spent some time living and competing in the United States, going to school at the University of Illinois, for whom he competed up until last year.
And he is a high flyer as well. Trained with Justin Spring. Kamine, oh, and that is too bad. And it's exactly what I was talking about with Epka. You know, he's doing these major releases in connection, so he has to be really far on the first one, and he was. I don't think he had enough time to adjust for the second one, and he misses the bar. It's risk, reward, and that one came back to bite him.
Tyson, probably the only athlete from Australia who also is an All-American gymnast.
Yeah, he had a great career with the Illini. Watched him last year at the NCAA Championships. And this sometimes happens. He was too far, and so the next release he does, it's too close to the bar and has to bend his elbows on that giant.
What's that experience like as an athlete? Do you know as soon as you've released the bar?
A lot of times you know exactly. You know before you've released the bar, sometimes. Some people are really good at just like extending their ligaments, though. It's amazing.
When you only need that 1 centimeter more.
But, you know, we've said this before, you know, making a World Cup final, that is a very big deal for this young man.
Well, if he needs a little extra motivation at all today, he can look over his shoulder at any moment, spot the man he calls his hero, Epka Sunderland, the current leader, now competing against him for the second time this season in a high bar final. And disappointment for that performance from Tyson Bull puts him into 7th place. And 1 gymnast left to go now, Hidetaka Miyachi from Japan.
And this is just off the charts. If you are a comics fan like I am and love DC Comics, this is the closest thing you'll ever get to Spider-Man. This guy catapults his body into the air and does the most ridiculous release skill. Comes off right in the beginning. Double layout over the bar with 2 twists. I don't know how it's possible. 1, 2. Oh, jeez. And he is not done. Another double twist. That one in tucked. That's a Brett Schneider. Oh, no. And such a shame. It's like when Andres Breschneider of Germany first started doing it, that Kovacs, that double flip over the bar with 2 twists, everybody in the world is like, no, we can't go there. And then people are doing it with a straight body. It's just so very, very hard. He actually defeated Epka at a World Cup earlier with a tiebreaker. He will not today, though. That's a full point you lose, but just ridiculous difficulty. I am so glad I am so retired.
You mentioned it, gold medalist from Melbourne Cup just a few weeks ago, but taking the risks here, and it just didn't pay off today.
He dreams of being on the podium in Tokyo. His chance is definitely through the event World Cups. So how that works, just for a quick refresher, is there are 8 of them in total. This is the 3rd one. When the World Cup series is over, you will take your top 3 placements. He's already got 1 first place. He's not going to factor in here. He still has a chance, but he's got to compete against some unbelievable athletes.
Well, and you look at Zunderland just as a prime example as he continues on through this World Cup series. Unlikely with his more common performances to fall off the podium very much. So you're really contending with some exceptional specialists who are just at the peak of their game right now, and Miyachi could very well be one of them. He was bronze in Cottbus as well, but he'll have to shake this one off and look forward to his next opportunity.
And you know, the other thing about this, and this applies to someone like Jade Carey, if he were to earn that spot, a specialist spot, he could compete on all of the events at the Olympic Games. It's kind of a bizarre rule. As you see Jade right there, she had an unbelievable championships here. She won both floor and vault, but she needs to come out on top on only 1 event from this World Cup series, and she'll get to do floor, vault, and balance beam if she wants to do it, maybe even bars.
Oh my goodness. So there's more on the line than just a spot to the event on which you qualify through this World Cup series. And we promised to try and continue unpacking this new process for you as best we can. But I'm glad you mentioned that, Tim, because that is a huge component. And for someone like Jade, for example, if she only qualifies on vault, she can certainly head to Tokyo and factor into the medals on floor.
Yeah, without a doubt. She could just fall shy, be second in the series on floor exercise or vault, and she's medal contender on both of those events.
So Hidetaka Miyachi from Japan, despite coming in as the top qualifier, will finish in 6th place. And another gold, another smile from the Dutchman, Epke Zunderland, who wins the gold medal here in Baku. Team Serbic from Croatia with the silver medal. Oliver Hegi rounding out the top 3. But still to come, plenty more action across all of the apparatus and all-around World Cups. Around the world, we go to Doha next, then Birmingham for the next all-around World Cup with Riley McCusker from the United States. You see a number of American entries there, but today it was all about Jade Carey, as it was on the first day of these finals, and she was exceptional in Baku, Tim.
Oh, absolutely. She really struggled at her first World Cup for her ability level, but has really got it together. She is a major contender.
So this is the second time that Jade Carey will feel that gold around her neck, and it was major success for the young American this time around. So that will do it for our coverage of the individual apparatus World Cup from Baku, Azerbaijan. For Tim Daggett, I'm Tanith White. So long.